In this video, we're going to learn about planning and scheduling meetings within the CAB workbench. As a CAB manager, there are several requisite actions you'll want to perform prior to running a CAB meeting. That is, steps that will be required before you can run and manage a CAB meeting through the CAB workbench. The first thing you'll want to do is set up CAB definitions, which we can access through the Change Advisory Board application. A CAB definition is a recurring meeting series and the attributes associated with it, such as the criteria that determine which change requests will be discussed, the scheduled dates and times that meetings will occur, and the CAB manager. So let's start by creating a new CAB definition. First, let's give our CAB definition a name. You'll want to name the CAB definitions accordingly based on the type of CAB meetings you intend to have routinely. For our example, let's set up a hardware CAB to accommodate any hardware changes that'll need to go through the CAB approval process. In this field, we'll list the CAB manager that we want to associate with this particular CAB definition. In the Delegates field, we want to add any users with the CAB manager role that can run the CAB meeting in the event that the assigned CAB manager is unavailable to do so. In the Board Members and Board Groups fields, we'll want to add any stakeholders who are required to attend the meetings that we're defining in this CAB definition. For example, since we're defining the hardware CAB meetings, it would be logical to assume that the network manager would be listed as a board member for this series of meetings. The rolling meeting window field is to accommodate the value that determines how far in advance, in days, we want to schedule the recurring meetings tied to this definition. Let's set it for 120 days. For the CAB type field, our options are normal or emergency. Since this CAB definition that we're setting up is for a recurring meeting, we'll set it to normal. The location field represents any physical location that attendees can join the meeting at. Let's add a couple of locations. In the Conference Details field, we can include information such as meeting links, passwords, and phone numbers. When we scroll down on the form, we can see the Agenda Management section. The notification lead time represents the number of agenda items to notify an attendee prior to their agenda item coming up for discussion in the CAB meeting. So in this case, the attendee will receive a notice when the meeting gets to the point where 5 agenda items before theirs are beginning review. In the Time Agenda field, we can place a value that represents the amount of time that we plan on spending for each change review. This is an approximate value that can be flexible and should be considered as more of an estimated time frame. Let's set this to 10 minutes. Clicking this checkbox allows us the option to use the filter criteria below to drive the change request date range for our meeting definition. Selecting the Complete Pre-Approved Changes box will allow us to forego the review of any changes slated for this meeting that we were able to approve without further review. Continuing on with the Agenda Management section of the form, we have the option to select here to auto-add agenda items. By selecting this field, a note will be automatically generated for the CAB meeting record with the decision that was made for each agenda item. The option to automatically add change requests is selected by default. This allows us to define the types of change requests that are automatically added to the CAB meeting agenda with these condition builders below. Let's create some conditions to automatically add some agenda items. For the first condition, let's choose Risk is one of high and moderate. Then we'll click And to add our next condition. For the next condition, let's select Type, Is, and then Normal. With the Add Sort button, we can define the order of the change requests in this CAB meeting agenda. The agenda order can be defined in CAB definitions or CAB meetings and can be based on one or more fields. Let's click it and sort by risk. We could add additional criteria by clicking Add Sort again, but this is good for now. We can then submit our form, but we have one more thing we need to do. So let's go back into the CAB definition we just created. Our last step for setting up our definition will be to define our schedule entries, which we can do by clicking here. This is where we define the date and time that we want our meetings to occur for this CAB definition. We could give it a different name, but we'll keep the same name as the CAB definition for now. For the Type field, let's select Meeting. And let's leave the Show As field value at its default of Busy. We set the start and end dates and times for our meetings by clicking on the calendar icons here and setting them accordingly. We set the frequency of the meetings here. Let's set this meeting to occur weekly. And we'll set it to repeat every week on Tuesday. And then click Submit to save it. Now that we've saved our schedule entries, we can see the full list of meetings that are currently scheduled for this CAB definition by clicking here. These CAB meeting records are an individual occurrence in that recurring meeting series which inherits all attributes from the CAB definition they're generated from. If we click here on this first meeting and go to the Refresh Agenda Items link, we'll see a list generated of all the agenda items slated for this particular meeting. Another thing we can do in the CAB meeting form is add additional agenda items. To do that, we can click here and then search for any changes that we wish to add as agenda items to our meeting. Once selected, we submit, and the change is added to the meeting as an agenda item. Additionally, we can rearrange the order of the agenda items. Perhaps one of the attendees won't be able to attend until the latter part of the meeting. No problem. By adjusting the value in the order field, we can reorganize the sequence in which the agenda items will be reviewed in our CAB meeting. Nice and simple. Back in the CAB Meetings view, we see a list of meetings that have the exact same characteristics as we defined for this CAB definition. But we can go into any one of them at any time and tailor them to our needs. Perhaps one of the meetings needs to be rescheduled. No problem. We can change the start and stop time for just that meeting by adjusting the values of these fields, respectively, by clicking here and here. If needed, we can also change things like delegates, board groups, and locations. Now that we know how to set up our CAB definitions and meetings, we can move forward to learn how to manage the CAB meetings. For more information, please consult our product documentation, knowledge base, or podcast, or ask a question in the ServiceNow community.